Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of TXGameHunters.com. On this episode, we are going to go over the Thor HD thermal rifle scope, the external and internal features of this rifle scope. It's the 384 unit, the 2x8 magnification. It's one of the second lowest price points that ATN has to offer, so it's a popular scope. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is it has a Midwest Industries quick release mount on it. Nothing against the Midwest Industries or ATN on it because it's a good quick release mount. But I personally like the ARMS mount, so we're going to switch that out. So let me grab it over here. I'll be right back. All right, I went ahead and grabbed one of our ARMS quick release number 17 mounts, the Tri-Lock quick detach mounts, which we also have available on our website. And these fit the ATN X-Sight 2 and the Thor HD models. So we're going to go ahead and switch these out real quick. Get the right attachment here. And that's pretty awesome. It's on here pretty tight, which is cool. I know a lot of the, do you hear that little snap? A lot of the people with the X-Sight 2s and the X-Sight 1s had a lot of the, not a lot, but some scopes had an issue of the mounts being loose. So they actually tightened and Loctited the nuts in place. So let me go ahead and take this off. Now it's loose enough to take off by hand. Alright, so we took that off. Let's go ahead and switch it back open. Switch it back up. Alright, so it's off. I do want to mention one thing though. The ATN X-Sight 2s, when you switch out the quick detach mount, the screws that are in the bottom of the mount of the ATN X-Sight 2 are too long for this mount because it didn't come with a quick detach mount. However, so we went out and bought screws that match. However, the screws that come with the Thor are the same exact length. So you can reuse the same ones if you want to reattach your mount. You don't have to buy any extra screws if you want to switch out mounts. So I'm going to use the same ones just because they're factory. Actually, I'm gonna switch them to my screws just because they're Phillips head. And I like the Phillips head a little bit easier than the Allen wrenches. Make sure they're nice and tight, but you don't want to strip them. Alright, perfect. So now we've switched out the mount. I like the ARMS mount just because it's a little bit easier to use and it's not as much moving parts as the Midwest with the springs and everything together. So we'll save that if we want to use it on another rifle scope, but until the meantime we switch this out. Alright, so external features. It's just like the ATN X-Sight 2 as far as the buttons, but they're all black, which I sort of like. It's a very sleek, tactical look. Gives a little notice on it. Important, to view the thermal images after and you see after startup must be performed. So we'll do that here in a little bit. It comes with a little lens cap on it for the, which is good. You want to keep that on there when you're not in use because you do not want to damage your lens. The back focus, the front focus, the battery compartment, 4 AA batteries, which it comes with, and of course where you put your SD card, micro USB port, micro USB port, or the micro HDMI port, which we're going to use here in a few minutes to go over the internal features. So that's the external. Let's get set up and switch to the internal. All right. So we are switched to the Thor HD. I'm looking through here and at base 2x magnification. Now you can't really see anything right now because just like the instruction sheet said that came with it, which I got it here, it reads, important note. Please note when you power up your Thor, first you will see the ATN splash screen, which we just did. Second, the reticle symbols on the black background, figure 1, and figure 1, which here is a picture of that, of what I'm looking at. To obtain a thermal image, you must use the NUC feature. To NUC your Thor, cover the lens with the cap or place your hand over the lens and select the paintbrush icon in the menu, figure 2. Alright, so put there, go to menu, paintbrush. This will calibrate your unit. If your image appears to degrade, refresh the calibration by following the NUC procedure. Alright, so we're not near as grainy now. This is in my hotel room. There's some stuff in the window right here you can see. Let's see if we look around. It's all pretty. There's a mirror. There's a bag sitting on my countertop. And there's my hotel door. Now, and then there's light. You can see that heat coming off that light really well. And this is just my hotel room. So we're going to do some field tests here a little bit with you. This is so you can see the heat coming under that door inside the bathroom right there. Alright, so it's pretty cool. Let's turn it on me. You can see my face. But this, once again, this is really close. I haven't even messed with the zoom at all. This is just me holding it into my face really close. So the thermal aspect of it is pretty cool. If we point it out the window, it's sort of hard because we have a window right here which is blocking a lot of that temperature. So, alright, so anyways, let's get to the features inside. So I'm going to put the cap on so it's not distracting. So we just have black there. Alright, so you have the forward arrow, which if you look in the upper right hand corner, when I'm doing that, it's the zoom. It's changing the zoom, and it's a smooth zoom feature. If I move the scope up and down on the right hand side, you can see the degrees change. If I move it, if I tilt it from side to side, rotate it on its axis, you can see the left rotation moving. And when it's straight up and down, it's at 0. When it's straight forward, both sides are at 0. Bottom right hand corner is the time. We have not set the time on this yet. The upper left hand corner of the screen is the 100-yard markers. So this is really cool. I'm really excited that that says yards because in the X-Sight 2 it says feet, which I'm sure they're going to change in an upcoming update. So that means no more calculation in your head. What's 432 yards in feet? Of course, we know you times that by 3, but to do that in your head real quick, you can't do that. So I'm excited about that. All right, but anyway, let's get into the scope itself. Press the enter button in the center to get to the menu. We now know what the paintbrush is for. That's to calibrate your thermal. Go over one more. You have the range finding feature, which is a calculation-based program. So if you click on that, you're going to then, of course, they have the lens cap off. You're going to right here at the top of your target, you're going to press enter. It's going to have you move your scope to where this is at the bottom of your target, and then you press enter, and see how it changes the yardage up here to wherever. Of course, I just did it here, so it's not pointing at anything, so it's a calculation based. You also have to know what the height of your target is. Let me zoom out just a little bit here on the screen so you guys can see everything. The bottom right hand corner, see it says hit the right arrow button for settings. So we're going to hit that. And that takes you into the screen. You have the manual entry, a deer height, what they already have pre-calculated is 5.91 feet on average, brown bear, wild boar, gray wolf. Now this is from their back to the ground, to where their feet are. And then you can do manual, so you can use your down arrow key and go to each one and so it's pre-calculated on manual. Right now I believe is deer. So if you select deer and go to load, now it's loading the deer height. Press the right arrow key again, and if you want to go to brown bear and hit load, now brown bear is your wild boar. And you can hit edit, load. You can even change the height, like if your wild boars in your area are a lot smaller than normal, you can change that. You can load. So that's how you get to the settings of your rangefinder. So I'm going to hit the left for the exit to get out of that. And see now up here, instead of 100 yards, it says 27.3 yards now, because that's what we did the rangefinder for. It's a cool feature if you know the exact, well, pretty close to the height of your target. So if you know, like if all your deer in the same area are about the same height, but you can't switch from deer to hog without switching the height because they're different heights, so the range won't be correct. ATN has just solved that issue by coming out with their new laser rangefinder, which is going to connect to all their smart products via Bluetooth. But when we get that in our hands, we'll do a video on that. All right, so let's get back to the menu. So NUC, rangefinder. Next is distance entry. So if you don't want to use the rangefinder, you can go to this and use the up and down arrow keys and see how it's changing the distance. And you can manually put in your distance. So I'm going to put it back at 100 yards. This is great for when you have the ballistic calculation, which we will get to. So that is your distance entry. Next, you have your environment. So your environment here, if you notice the 73 degrees, that's what temperature it is in my hotel room, air temperature. It's got the barometric pressure preloaded and the altitude, we're at 100 or minus 101 feet from where we're at right now. So that's our altitude. I haven't calibrated the compass and everything yet, so I don't know if that's 100%, because like I said, we just got it. We'll get to that part in a second. But relative humidity, wind speed, and wind direction, you input those informations. Now, if you're never going to use the ballistic calculation, this screen does not matter. If you do use the ballistic calculation, this screen matters. So you can go to like weatherchannel.com, whatever you can go to txgamehunters.com. We have your weather reports on there. Whatever your weather is going to be for that day, you use that down arrow, you get to it. Like I looked earlier today, our relative humidity here is like 41%. So I'm going to change that to 4. Go over using the right arrow. Go down to 1. And now that's adjusted. Now it says 41%. Wind speed. Now wind speed is tricky because in most places we know the wind is not constant at 10 miles an hour all day. Now if it is, you can put that in. If not, if it's gusting, you got to be careful at short ranges, because if you put 10 miles an hour in here and you're using the ballistic calculation, it's going to think that you have a current 10 mile an hour straight wind from whatever direction you put it in, and it's going to compensate for that. We'll get to that when we go over the ballistic calculation. But go down to wind direction, same thing. So if you're happy with it, you can go back to this arrow, hit the left arrow button, go all the way up, get to that left arrow and hit OK, the enter button, and it'll take you back out of this screen. Now let's hit enter. Let's go back over. That's environment. Now we're here to where you a couple things where you have Wi-Fi, GPS. ballistic calculation, recoil activated video, and back to Wi-Fi. All of these come standard off, and I'm assuming that's because the GPS will still, when it's searching for signal, can still lock up the unit. So I always keep GPS off. Ballistic calculation, when I'm using it, I keep that on, but we're going to keep that off for now. Recoil activated video, awesome feature for people like me who forget to hit the record button. You can turn that on and set up the calculation, which we'll go over that in a little bit. And Wi-Fi, you can turn on which to connect to your Obsidian app. Now, if you notice, Bluetooth is not on here. Right now, they have the Bluetooth deactivated. I'm assuming until their next firmware update, when they officially launch the rangefinder. Once that rangefinder is officially launched, I'm assuming they're going to have that Bluetooth turned back on, because that's how you connect to the scope. All right, so let's go to the next screen on the right. Contrast. So let's hit on contrast. And if you use the up, oops, go back over to contrast. If I don't hit out, oop, not settings, go back. We're going to go to the settings in a little bit. Contrast. So notice how the screen is getting darker, and it's all the way up to 5 with less lines. We'll play with that more when we're actually out in the field. It's come preset to 5, so we're going to leave it at that for now. We'll play with that when we're out in the field to see the difference. Alright, so the next thing on the list, we went through everything, is system settings. And if you know, we're back to the exit. You can use the left or right arrow and go either way. So I'm going to go back to the settings, which is the next. So these are the actual settings of the rifle scope itself. So if you go, first one is contrast, which we just were in. That's another way to get into the contrast. And then down here at the bottom, I'm going to click left arrow to go back. Thermal sensitivity, you can go to low, medium, and high. It comes preset on medium, so I'm going to leave it there. We can play with that when we're out in the field. Metering mode, you have matrix, center, and those are your two options. We're going to leave it on center just because that's where it was at. Power button, and you see on, we'll leave that on. Color palettes, so you can do white hot, rain, rainbow, iron bow, glow bow, fusion, green hot, red hot, black hot, and white hot. We're going to leave it on white hot for now, because white hot here, let's take the cap off. So we're back here looking at the window. Let's play with the focus here too. Alright, so now you can sort of see the drapery rod line going up to the curtains, which are holding heat. And a little bag there. Let's go back to, let's look at some other stuff in our room. I'm playing with the little focus knob. Real quick, I would just want to see something. See how it has all those lines over here? Let's go back to and you see, let's put our hands in front, and you see the unit. Alright, if you notice, a lot of those lines are gone now. So, alright, so let's go back with the different color palettes here, just so you can see. So this is white hot. Go back to settings, over to thermal, go down to color palettes, white hot, there's the rain, rainbow, iron bow, glow bow, fusion, green hot, red hot, black hot, and white hot. So we'll see out in the field which one we want to go to. So far I'm liking white hot. So, but anyway, there's that. Rain. There's the heat signatures when you see the different colors from the light. I'm liking that white hot. All right, so we'll select that. So let's go back. So we got that. So that's the color palettes. Now let's go to the pixel correction. So you can go to manual correction, reset pixels, which I'm going to get out of this because I don't want to do anything. Exit. Or reset pixels. So we're done with that. Hit the left arrow to go back. So that's everything in the thermal tab. Now photo video tab, which is the same as the Excite 2. You have the photo mode, which you can change that, hit enter. You can change that to single, burst. If you take it time lapse, you can take pictures. Time lapse mode, so if you have your scope set up on a tripod, or your rifle set up on a tripod and you want to take a time lapse, you can just hit time lapse and it will, whatever you have your time lapse settings to, which we'll get down here in a second, it will just keep taking those photos for a cool little time lapse. You can turn it into a time lapse video. Burst count, you can set that up to 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see what the max. 10 is the max, and down to 1. Time lapse settings. Total photos, you can change that. Let's see how many will let us go to. 10 total photos. So you can do 10 photos, and you can do frame intervals. You can go down to 3 seconds is all the way up to probably 10. Oh no, you can go up to 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds it'll take a photo for 10 photos. So cool little feature there. Left arrow to get back. Microphone. Turn on your microphone. So if you're not getting sound and you've tried everything, always check your microphone is on. Is the first thing. Format SD card. I don't have an SD card in it right now. If you press it, it says unable to access the SD card, of course, because we don't have one in there. USB. Oh, sorry. USB access. Right arrow to go over. Oops. That's if we have a micro USB, which we do not. Recoil activated video settings. All right, so record before the shot. Because we have the website and we do the shows, I like to do at least 30 seconds before if I'm using the recoil activated video, and 30 seconds after. So this gives me a minute-long video of the kill shot that I can then edit into with our other video recording devices that we use. So that's everything in photo video. Let's go over to display. Screen brightness, of course, which you can change, which is not going to affect here because we're not seeing this screen. This is the screen of the actual unit itself when you're looking through the viewfinder. Display widgets extended. If you do minimal, watch, if you take minimal and go back to the main screen, all that stuff that was on the side is all gone. So if we go back to settings, display, extended, they're all back. So that's how you get rid of those if you don't want those on your screen. We like them, so we keep them there. Settings. Language, you can change your language to different languages. English, Dutch, Espanol, Italiano, a whole bunch of different languages. We're going to go back to English just because I don't know the other language. Sleep mode, which is active on the Thor. It's not active on the Excite 2 yet, but it is active. So we can go to on, and I can go to hibernation. I can change it to after 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25. Let's see, the maximum is 60 minutes. So this saves battery like crazy. I'm probably going to go to 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes of it not in use, if you have it on, it's going to go to hibernation and shut the screen off to save battery power. Alright, and then reticle style. We're going to change the shape first. So you have a bunch of different options. This is our favorite one just because we like it, but a lot of people I've seen have used this one, and a lot of people I see have used this one. And this is a crossbow reticle, but I like this one, so we're going to select that. And color, since we're using the white hot, the black probably won't work. Gray might look cool, or orange might look cool. We're going to select with orange right now. Alright, so that's everything in display. Let's go over one more. Profiles in 0. Alright, profiles in 0. This is where you get to let me go back to the main screen. Alright, so this is where you get to where you're setting up you're zeroing your rifle, setting up multiple profiles for multiple weapons, multiple caliber rounds. I mean grain weights of your calibers. If you have, like, if I have a 308 and I have a 150 grain, and then for I'm going to go elk hunting and I want to do 180 grain, I'll do a different profile for the 180, so I don't have to re-zero when I go back to 150 grains. So if you select on current, this is where you set up all your information for your current profile, your drag function, ballistic coefficient, the bullet weight, how many grains, muzzle velocity, how many yards did you zero your rifle, and the sight height. All of this is very important information for using the ballistic calculator. If you look at our video on how to use the ballistic calculator, we go over all this. It's same for the Thor and the X-Sight 2. So I'm going to sort of skip over all of that because that's a whole nother video right there. But let's go back, left arrow key. You can use other, and you can create a new profile here, or you can load, select enter. You can copy that profile, delete that profile, or load it. Left arrow to go back. Import from SD card. This is new for the, well, this is, if you're an X-Sight 2 user, and this is your first Thor, this is a new feature. You can actually export your profiles to your SD card, and then you can re-import those. So once you set up your profiles, you export those to your SD card. If you ever lose your zero for some reason or mess it up or whatever, you can go back and import from your SD card, and it'll import your profiles with your zeros. So it saves them for you, so you can reload those at any time. That's an awesome feature. Hopefully they bring that to the X-Sight 2, which I'm guessing they will. Alright, go over to right. Last tab is settings. You can go to units, you can go to standard or metric. Of course, so you can go to meters or yards. We're going to keep it at standard because that's what we have. Date and time. Alright, so clock source, manual, date format, month, day, year. That's what we like. Clock format, 24 hours, military time, 12 hours, standard time. We're going to go on that. Date. We are going to set the date. Today is January 7th, 2017. Date is set. Time. It is 11:47 a.m. So 11. Go up to 40. a.m. Time zone. We're going to leave it at that. So now our date and time is set. So now if we exit the settings tab and go back to the main menu, look down here, our time is now correct. So let's go back to settings. Settings. All right, so that's the date and time. Wi-Fi. All right, so the SSID, which is what it will, the Wi-Fi network, the name of it is Thor_D4AC. This is the password. You can change that password. You can go down. Maybe you can't hear. I lied. It's not letting you change it. I think you can change it in the app, but we'll go over that. And your MAC address. All your Wi-Fi settings are there. Geotagging, I'm going to turn off, just because I don't want to geotag my spots. Device type, you need to select the device type if you're using the ballistic calculator. It's actually already pre-selected for ours, which is good. So zoom, standard zoom or extended. So just like a digital camera, you can set extended zoom so you can go past the 8 magnification. However, we will play with that in the field and show it to you later. But when you go to the extended zoom, it will be more pixelated. So you can play with that on your own and see what you like. We like to stop at standard so it doesn't get pixelated. Restore factory settings, so you can restore everything back to factory settings. And then at the bottom it has your firmware version. Now we're going to check online right now to the ATN website. ATNcorp.com. Which, if you watch our video of how to do a firmware update, it's the same for the Thor HD, and then we cover all that in there. So I'm going to click on firmware for the Thor firmware. Version 702 is the most recent, and we have 702 on here. So we do not have to update our firmware at this time. You always want to check that to make sure you don't have to do a firmware. Make sure you're always at the most updated version of the firmware. And that is pretty much all the internal settings. Actually, I want to go back. Now that we set up the ballistic if you set up the ballistic calculator, you can now turn it on. And now there's no longer a line through it. In the upper right-hand corner, you see that little, that's the ballistic calculation symbol to let you know it's on. I'm going to turn it back off because we haven't set it up. Recoil activated video. I'm going to hit enter, and now that is on. So because we set up the settings for it, we can use it. Now, if I were to go shoot the gun right now, it would not record anything. It would not keep any recordings because we have, even though the the recoil activated video is on, it is not active. To activate it, you have to hit right here, that right arrow key. Oh, I don't have an SD card in it. So you would hit that right arrow key to record, and then that would activate the recoil activated video, and you would see a little symbol up in the corner showing that that's going. So that's how you have to turn it on. So it's basically constantly recording, but it's only going to save the video 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after the recoil of the weapon when it's fired. Otherwise it will not save it. Alright, so now to take a picture, so you have that symbol on the right to record, the symbol on the left is to take a picture. It's a little camera symbol. You would press that to take a picture. Of course, unable to record, so hit OK. And that is how you use the recoil activated video. You have to activate it when you start hunting, otherwise it will not work. It will not save for you. Let's see, GPS off. We're still keeping that off. Ballistic calculation off. So that is the internal features in a nutshell. The ATN Thor HD 384 2x8 zoom. And that little cord is our micro HDMI cable hooked up to our TV, so you get a 100% live feed out of it. But hopefully you guys liked the video. We're going to have a lot more thermal videos to come. But thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I'm Joseph Truesdale. This is TXGameHunters.com.